Yo, what's going on, guys? It's BrendanMushi, and today we are doing a guide for Baiken. So if you're not quite sure exactly what you should be doing with this character or how she works or how she plays in the new game, this video is for you. So historically, Baiken has always been a character that's been more defensive. She used to have like a bunch of counters and guard points and stuff like that. In this game, I feel like she's pretty straightforward, pretty simple to pick up. She feels more like one of the base roster characters as opposed to the DLC characters we've been getting like Jacko and Happy Chaos and Gold Lewis that are kind of weird in their own way. So with her, she seems to be a character that really excels at dominating the mid-range space. She's got pretty chunky, fat normals that she can throw out. She's got this claw, so she's pretty good at dominating the neutral space. And then once she gets in, she's got pretty good pressure as well, pretty standard strike throw stuff. She's got this new tether mechanic, which we'll talk about a bit later on as well. And she still has a single counter. So as you can see, she basically has a tool for every situation. She's got defensive stuff. She's got a reversal super and a parry. She's got good mid-range pokes. She also has good space control, and then she also has pretty good pressure as well. She's got instant overheads, so she pretty much has everything that you could need, and we'll go into detail on each of these things throughout the video. Alright, so for the first thing we're going to talk about with Baiken here is we're going to talk about the neutral game with her. She has a lot of tools you can actually use for the neutral game, but I don't think her neutral game is really all that complicated. At round start, Far Slash is a really good option because it's pretty quick. Her 2S is also a really good poke as well. Her 2H is her 2H is pretty comical. A lot of Baiken players love this poke, although it is pretty slow. It goes very far, especially if you were to add some dash momentum in there as well. It's also a low, so this is a great poke, and if you land a counter hit, you can go into Tatami mat, and you can get a huge combo started as well. You could also go into the chain. Just be careful because at like max distance, the chain does not work. So you have to be a little bit closer. So there are a couple things you have to pay attention to when you're poking with Baiken, so I just want you to be aware of these things. So first of all, Baiken can do Far Slash into 2H into chain. The thing is, though, is that Far Slash into 2H does not combo. Same with 2S into 2H does not combo. You still want to do this a lot because it will combo if they're crouching. So if you didn't know, in Guilty Gear, when the opponent is crouching, your attacks get extra hit stun. So it allows for combos that aren't normally possible. So you can do Far Slash 2H, chain into the H follow-up. So if you didn't know, Baiken has half circle forward H, which does a chain. If you press H again really quickly, she does a follow-up attack. So this is a standard way to end a lot of her combos. So again, Far Slash 2H, chain, H follow-up, and that gives you a hard knockdown and you can run in for pressure. So it's pretty staple BMB when you're poking at the opponent. Same thing can be done with 2S as well. So 2S, 2H, chain, H follow-up. And again, if you're really far, that can happen. So again, if your 2H hits max distance, sometimes the chain whiffs. But if the closer you are, the easier it is to hit. So definitely keep that in mind. So this string is really useful. Baiken can also throw out the claw itself as a poke because it goes mad far. But from my testing, it doesn't seem like she really gets like a combo off of it unless it's counter hit. So like if you hit them with a claw, you could try to do like a 5P or something, but as you can see, all you really get is probably like plus frames. She has two different claws. Half circle forward heavy does this claw, and if you press heavy again, you get a follow-up attack. And then half circle forward slash tethers you to them. You can tell the difference because there's a bell. She throws a bell when you do the slash that tethers them. See a little bell? And then when you do half circle forward, it's a claw. So there's a claw, which does the attack, and then the slash version is a little bell, tethers them to you. And we'll talk about the tether a little bit more later. That shit looks so goofy. Yeah, so basically, like, what you're generally doing with Baiken is you're kind of poking with, like, Far Slash 2H into, like, chain, right? That's kind of like a basic thing that you're trying to do. Like I said, you could throw the chain out as well, but you kind of need a counter hit. Something like that. It does depend on distance. Obviously, if you're a little bit farther back, you might not really... And then 6H can be a really good counter poke. If you manage to catch somebody and you like get a counter hit, you can do a massive amount of damage to them. Yeah, so you can fuck them up a lot, and that's meterless off of just a 6H. So yeah, that's basically like what you're doing on the ground. Now, when Baiken's in the air, she has a few more tools. Jump slash is really good. It's not like super disjointed or anything like that. So if you're like mad far, you're still getting 6P'd, you're not Axel. Even if you hit like pretty deep with it, you still get clapped. So like, don't get too crazy. But yeah, this button is really good. You can kind of do some pseudo axle shit with it. Her jump H is really active the entire time you're up, so it's really good for like air dashing in on people. And if you do manage to hit someone with it, you're not always, depending on where it hits, it's hard to land and confirm, right? Because it hits so high up. So you want to use Yozansen, which is quarter circle forward slash in the air. So say you land a jump H, you can cancel into Yozansen, and you can kind of delay cancel it, and that allows you to follow up off of it like that. And then her jump dust is actually surprisingly really good too. If you just jump and press dust, that can catch people as well. And then you can cancel into an air dash and then try to get like a follow-up. In the corner, it actually bounces them off the wall, so she can actually get follow-ups as well. Right? Something like that, you get the idea. In regards to Baiken's anti-airs, if they don't press anything, you can 6P. It seems pretty hard to get like much off of 6P. Like you can get like a chain, but because the scaling is so high, like a lot of times you don't get that follow-up. He's really high in the air, so I'm getting it, but if he was a lot lower, see, it's not always guaranteed, so it just kind of depends. But if it lands on counter hit, you definitely get a lot more. You can get the S one. So if you don't know, the S one that tethers them actually has longer startup. You can see how long it takes for the S one, but the H one is a lot faster. So it's a lot easier to combo into the H one than the S one. So if you land a counter hit, you can actually 6P, you can go into the tether. Tatami can actually anti-air people as well, but it's really slow and like not the most reliable thing, but it can work. Obviously your reward is going to be a lot more if you get this compared to some other things. Jump dust is a good anti-air as well, of course. You can do counter hit 6P into Tatami, but I find like it to be like inconsistent because sometimes that happens, you know? So for me, I find it best to just go into the tether. I like that personally, but it's up to you. Do what you want. Speaking of neutral, Tatami. So the Tatami mat is kind of weird. So like on the ground, it has 2 hits. So it has an initial hit flipping them up and a second hit when it comes down. There's the second hit, right? So hit number 1, hit number 2. Kind of think of it like Zato's frog, if you're familiar with that. So on the initial first hit, it launches them for a combo. Makes them do the backstroke like they're in the swimming pool, Michael Phelps. And then the second hit just kind of like love taps them, right? So this can be used for combos. So if you do like 2H, Tatami mat, and then you can knock them into the air. A really good way to confirm off of it if you don't have the tether, which makes combos goo goo gaga easy for Baiken. If you don't, you can usually do 2S into heavy claw into the heavy follow-up. So you could do like 2H, Tatami, 2S, claw follow-up. Really good way to get a hard knockdown. You can also convert off of 2D with this as well. 2D does 2 hits. If you cancel the first hit of 2D into the mat, it just OTGs, so you have to let both hits rock. And then Tatami, 2S, claw, whoops, 1, 2, then Tatami, 2S, claw follow-up for the hard knockdown. Boom, there you go. Now the Tatami mat in the air is a little bit different. It doesn't have 2 hits, it just has 1 hit no matter what. So like for example, you can see me hit him with a flip up, but it doesn't launch. And when it falls back down, there's no second hit. It's just always 1 hit no matter what. No matter which portion of it you hit him with, and there's no launch. But what's cool about the air version is that you can actually do the Tatami mat and then you can still move while it's falling, which kind of creates like a wall of buttons. It's not perfect, as you can see I got hit there, but that's a better example of how to use it. You can see that it kind of creates a wall and then people can kind of like run into it. As was shown, be careful because people can still run under it and hit you in time. It's not perfect. And also it has startup, right? You're jumping and then putting your leg in the air, then kicking. That entire time, you could potentially get hit by someone, you know, being a maniac or something like that. Right? That happens sometimes, but it can be nice. So like if you backdash, for example, and you do Tatami, a lot of times that happens. You'll see the leg and it doesn't come out. To fix this, you can super jump and then backdash and do Tatami. So you super jump, air dash back, and then Tatami. Now when you're doing forward air dash, just an instant air dash, it should give it to you every time. Now the purpose of doing air dash Tatami is it's pretty much the same as doing air dash jump H. It just gives you like plus frames. So you can combo off of it like that. But yeah, that's essentially what you're using it for. On the ground, you're using it as like a launch tool basically for combos, and then in the air, you use it as like a wall to like, you know, fill up space for neutral basically. It can also be used to give you plus frames. So like, let's say like you get a knockdown, you can put the tatami mat on them and see I can get a 2-hit combo there, and if he blocks that tatami mat, I'm plus. Alright, so back to the claw. So we talked about the heavy claw a bit, right? You do half circle forward heavy, and it hits them with the claw. You press heavy again quickly, and it hits them with a quick follow-up attack. Now, if you actually hold heavy, she goes a little bit further, and it can pass through the opponent. She doesn't actually like hit behind her, but she passes through them. I've actually been able to trip people up a couple of times by switching sides as people are getting up. I think it's very gimmicky. I don't think most people will really fall for that, but since it's pretty early, it catches people. I'm not really 100% sure exactly what the use for this is quite just yet, so I apologize. It's day one, so I don't really know yet. But what I really wanted to talk about was the tether. So half circle forward slash, where she throws the bell. So this move is actually 0 on block. So if they're blocking, you tether them, you are now 0. The thing about this that's kind of scary is that the tether can also help Baiken's opponent as well. And it can allow for combos that aren't normally possible. So just to make this really easy, I actually have Twitter pulled up here. I'll just show you a couple Twitter clips. So as you can see, be very, very careful about using the S tether, but it does make Baiken's combos like 10 times easier. You can pretty much do anything into tatami, and you can kind of like loop it and then like end in super, double quarter circle forward slash as a super. This shit looks so cool. That does do a stage transition if you're closer to the wall. And then also when you throw someone, it automatically applies the tether to them. If you hold dust, it will actually not apply the tether to them. So if you don't want to apply it to them, then you can do that as well. Now, once the tether is applied to them, the pull is stronger the further away you are from them, so it starts yanking you closer together. And then also, if Baiken backdashes when she's at max distance, so if I'm close to them and I backdash, I just do that. But if I'm a bit far and I backdash, it actually makes her airborne. And this allows her to do like overheads, and it also allows her to, she can even like backdash and then air dash as well, and she can like cross it to the other side. So for example, you could do like backdash, forward dash, and then you can do something like that. And so because this Yozansen hits behind her, normally you can't really combo off this, but because you're tethered, you can. So Baiken's tether mechanic is probably the most fun part of the character because of how weird it is, and that's the thing that's going to change a lot over time is the way people pressure with this. Like for example, if you, after a throw, if you super jump up, you land as a perfectly timed jump kick right on their face, but if you super jump up forward, you cross up behind them, right? So it's like stuff like that is really what's going to make this character so unique and interesting. A common thing I see a lot of people like to do is after you throw, you can do an immediate backdash into tatami. So you just backdash immediately into tatami, and this actually will safe jump DPs and reversal supers. So you can do backdash tatami, and then you're right on top of them to do whatever mix that you want to do. So that gives you at least a few ideas that you can try to go for. Like I said, I think another common one too is you can backdash, then forward dash, and then cross up behind them with Yozansen. So again, you backdash, and then you air dash behind them. So she's going to have a lot of shenanigans with the tether, so definitely feel free to kind of experiment with it. Try to like backdash, then double jump, right? You know, try to like super jump air dash, you know, and just try to mess around with stuff. I was messing around with like, for example, super jumping up back and then going for an empty low, for example. I saw that caught people a lot. So I think it's super fun, and the coolest part about it is that once you actually do get the hit, she's able to combo off of it with things that she normally can't because she's tethered to them. Once again, just be careful you don't get hit and get styled on, but yeah, it's definitely pretty cool. Another thing you might want to experiment with as well, so if you throw the opponent, right, it tethers them, and it leaves them pretty close to you, right? But if you throw them and you hold dust, it throws them pretty far, throws them a lot further. Well, if you already have them tethered from Kabari, what you can do is you can throw them, and instead of doing the normal throw, well, they're already tethered to you, what you can do is you can hold dust to throw them further, and then they snap to you. And this will probably allow you to do even more creative setups. Right, so it feels like it makes things a little bit easier because they're far from you and you know they're going to snap to you, so it allows you to do different stuff. So all these different things with the tether might allow you to come up with some creative setups, so definitely experiment with that. So what might be frustrating for a lot of Baiken players is that if you manage to hit someone with the tether, if the opponent bursts you, they actually get oki, which they normally wouldn't because the tether is so close to them, and it allows them to do some funky bullshit to you. As far as block strings go, I haven't really experimented too much with the tether. In my experience, it's best used for combos like I just showed you, and also for mix-ups because of the weird shit you can do with it. But as far as like block string pressure, I'm sure somebody will figure out something. Like you could probably do like a couple buttons and it pushes them out, and then the tether brings them back into you. You see what I'm saying? Like you kind of like knock them away, and now it's kind of hard for them to counter poke, right? Because they're like a bit far from you. You see what I'm saying? But then as you're recovering from back here, it brings you back in, and then you can press a button, right? So I'm sure there'll be some experimentation with that. Obviously it's not perfect because some characters have options when they're that far from you that they can press while you're recovering, but I think that there is something there. So without talking about the tether, I feel like Baiken's block string pressure is pretty similar to what you would do with any other character. It doesn't seem like any of her normals are plus on block, so you just do like a punch and then you can go for like a tick throw or something, or you could do like a close slash and then go for like a tick throw, and then say if they're like mashing or something, then you can do like close slash into 6H, and then you get like a full combo. So when we talk about canceling your buttons into actual special moves once you're using your staggers and, you know, tick throws and whatnot, Baiken, when she cancels into her Tatami mat, her turn is over. So I'm mashing 5P and I'm literally getting counter hit by Anji. Even if I'm back here and I do Tatami mat and I do far slash, I get clapped by Anji's far slash. So once you do the Tatami mat, your turn is done. Like I said, this move right here, this is 0-1 block. So you just have to kind of use your fastest option versus their fastest option. But Baiken does have a parry, quarter circle forward punch. This will block, it doesn't matter if it's a high, low, mid, whatever, it will parry everything. The only thing it doesn't parry is obviously throws, and it doesn't parry projectiles. It does parry supers though, which is pretty cool. But like, let's say for example, I'm 0-1 block here. If they have something that's faster than me, like for example, Soul has a 5K that starts up in 3 frames. Baiken probably doesn't have a normal that starts up in 3 frames or less. So if I have 5P against Soul's 5K, he's gonna beat me every single time. So I could do this, and then I could parry him, right? That does a fuck ton of damage. But you have to be careful because if you do parry, you're in a counter hit state, and it has a lot of recovery. Like you can see me, this is me holding up. Like, she takes a while before she recovers, so you're gonna get blown up. Now Baiken's heavy claw is minus, so if the opponent is mashing after it, you're going to get bodied, so just keep that in mind. So Baiken's heavy claw is minus, so if the opponent is mashing their fastest button and you're mashing your fastest button, you are going to lose. But just as I said before, if you're feeling ballsy, you could counter them, or you could use the heavy follow-up, which will actually counter hit people. It doesn't seem like you get much of a reward. I don't like the other follow-up because you look at this shit. That happens more than you think. Like you get counter hit out of that a lot. You can control when you do these follow-ups, so I could do it like immediate, which it is a frame trap when you do it immediately. This will not true block string. This will counter hit people if you do the follow-up as fast as possible. But you can delay it if you want, like I'm doing here. Same with the one where if you hold H, how she goes behind them. I don't like this follow-up. I don't really see the purpose of it. But it can be nice because you can catch people, like let's say you're doing a block string or whatever. You can RC. You get the idea. When you do the heavy claw into the claw follow-up, Baiken kind of like looks like she stunned herself to kind of show you that she's minus. She is safe, but she is definitely minus. So it will be the defender's turn. But if you want to get cheeky, She has Yozansen, which can be done in the air. Very similar to Milia's Bad Moon. You can hit someone with a jump cancelable button like a close slash, and then you can do a TK, Yozansen. TK stands for Tiger Knee. Basically, it's a technique in fighting games to do airborne attacks extremely low to the ground. So the input for this move is quarter circle forward slash in the air. So basically, you just do a quarter circle and then you hit up. So you basically do, the input would be 2, 3, 6, 9, S. So you do close slash. This key to doing this is that when you do the close slash, you don't want to do it immediately, otherwise you're probably going to get claw or you're going to get this. So you have to like wait a little bit and then do it. And that's usually makes it a lot easier. This is an instant overhead. So doing close slash into this, that's an overhead. But if you do close slash into 2D, that's a low. So that's something you can do, and then you can RC this as well, and you can even do like another overhead, so that's a double overhead. One overhead, double overhead, you're plus, so you get a tick throw. Cross up, plus again. So she can get pretty crazy, especially when you have some meter involved. So just to kind of like highlight how Yozansen kind of works, when you hit a grounded opponent with Yozansen, it puts them in an airborne state, the same way that Soul's close slash works. And then their feet touches the ground and they become in a grounded state. Now, when you're doing a TK Yozansen, you're rising into the air with it and then falling to the ground. So normally without meter, you're not going to be able to combo off of it. So as you can see, I'm mashing 5P and it does a combo. Right? So, but if you're falling and you hit them with it before you touch the ground, see, I am actually able to get a combo with it, right? That's why when you do a jump heavy into a Yozansen, you're actually able to combo off of it because you're falling with it, just like how you'd fall with a button. But when you're doing a TK, you're rising with it, just as you'd be like rising with a button. And thus, it's a lot harder to combo off it without spending meter. And when you quick RC and hit them, you're actually going to be hitting them as if they're airborne. So that is something to note. And then as far as how frame data with it works, when you hit someone with TK Yozansen, you are plus. I can show you here. So I'm going to have Baiken set to mash punch after getting hit. So you can see she's mashing. I can frame trap her with a close slash, even after hitting her with TK Yozansen. So you are plus if you land a TK Yozansen. You're just not going to get a combo off of it unless you spend meter. TK Yozansen on block is getting hella punished with even a stand heavy, so it is mad punishable on block. Now if you RC it, you actually can get a double overhead. So if you do like a quick RC, you can actually do multiple overheads by mashing P. You can just do a second with H and then you'll be plus. As you can see, you can even catch people as well. So just to recap, most of Baiken's block pressure is going to revolve around just using like standard like tick throws versus delaying your strings to like catch people mashing and then confirming off of the counter hits. A lot of her counter hits can be confirmed into Tether, and then it allows for the juggle combos I showed you before. You just keep juggling them over and over again. Pay attention to your jump cancelable normals, which will usually be 5K and close slash, as you can jump and then instantly Yozansen them for an overhead. And then also you'll use the heavy chain, which is negative, but you can use the follow-up to catch people. And then also as well, you can use your counter at any point when you're negative to steal your turn back. So you're negative, go for the counter. One thing I think that's really important to note is that the counter can be PRC'd, and if the counter is successful, your PRC will actually not come out. So for example, I'm going to set Anji to mash here, and I'm going to set him to random, so that way I don't know when he's going to do it, and you'll see I'm mashing RC and it doesn't come out until, see my RC didn't come out. I'm RCing that every time. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually turn this off so I can show you what I'm talking about. So, see, I did the counter and then I RC'd it. So the RC only comes out at the point where the opponent actually, well, where Baiken actually does the slam, right? You can't RC before that. So even as a reversal, because like I said before, this is frame one. So if the opponent knocks you down and then they go for a meaty, right? You can wake up with this parry. But let's say they bait it out. Let's say they throw you and then they try to bait it. You can actually just wake up with it and then PRC it and then see they didn't do anything, and then retaliate. Generally for supers and meter usage, most of the time you'll use your meter to extend off of like TK Yozansen, which we showed before. You can create like double overheads, and you can also combo off of it a lot easier. You can also use it to combo off of your heavy claw as well, which is super important. So like, let's say you do heavy claw. If the heavy claw hits people, you can usually right? You get the idea. This super is going to be used to break the wall and cause a stage transition, but it can also be used as a reversal. So if somebody goes to like pressure you and wake up, you can wake up with it. There is a gap in the super, so the first 2 hits true block string. You can actually parry it, which is pretty funny. Like I said, Baiken can parry supers, but yeah, there is a gap, so just be careful. You can get hit by the 3rd hit if you're not paying attention, but the super is mad punishable, so if you don't have to do anything fancy, you can just block all 3 hits. Her other super is double quarter circle back punch. She actually she pulls out the blick and she hits him with the gun. It has a super cool animation. What's interesting about it is that it actually will carry momentum based on where it hits them. So if it hits them in the front, they get blasted away from it. So if it hits them in the back, they actually get blasted towards you, which can actually be used like pretty creatively for certain combos. Like for example, if they jump at you, you can actually shoot this behind them, and you can actually get a combo too, which is pretty cool. It can also be used in the air as well, which I showed, which is cool because it can be used for like air combos and stuff. Honestly, with Baiken, I feel like if you have the read, the opponent will feel like they don't get to play because your parries are just going to be so well timed. It can shut down a lot of people's offense if you time them properly. And then also using the chain shenanigans, people are oftentimes not going to be sure when they can press a button. TK Yozansen is pretty unreactable. I think the only thing that might kind of hold Baiken back is the fact that the tether can be so heavily used against her, but I guess only time will tell. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this video and hopefully you learned something from it. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace out.